On my first day of college, my parents told me, "We can't pay for school anymore. Can you find a husband instead?" What? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'd spent the whole day falling in love with my classes. Introduction to Psychology, where the professor made us laugh while explaining Freud. Creative Writing, where we'd already started working on short stories. Even Statistics seemed interesting with the right teacher. I was sitting on a bench outside the library, feeling like my life was finally beginning when they called. My mom's voice was oddly cheerful for someone destroying my future. "We need you to listen carefully, honey. We can't pay for school anymore. What happened to the college savings account you've had for me since I was a baby?" My voice cracked. They'd shown me the statements every birthday, watched the numbers grow, used it as motivation when I didn't want to study for the SATs. That money was supposed to be sacred, untouchable, mine. There was a pause before my dad cleared his throat. "I had some problems. We're going to need all the money back to pay some debts," which was weird because she didn't say what kind of debts. Then what am I supposed to do? I felt like I might throw up. My mom jumped back in with her solution. "You need to find a rich boyfriend by the end of the month. You go to school with plenty of wealthy students and you have a good body, so it wouldn't be impossible for you to get a boyfriend to turn into a husband." I sat there stunned while she kept talking. She explained their whole plan like she'd thought it through carefully. How I should target guys in the business school. How I should dress more revealing. How I should laugh at their jokes even if they weren't funny. "If you just don't break up with him even if he cheats on you, then in 7 years you can go back to school again." She said it like 7 years was nothing. Unable to believe what was going on, I hung up without saying goodbye. My hands were shaking as I scrolled to my brother Jerry's number. He'd graduated from law school last year and always knew how to fix things. He picked up on the second ring. "They just told me they can't pay for college and I need to find a rich husband. Is this really happening?" I was trying not to cry. Jerry let out a long sigh. "They did the same thing to me when I started college and I believed them." What? This kept getting worse. He explained how 8 years ago they'd called him with the same story. Same weird debts. Same crazy solution. But he'd been too proud to marry for money, so he'd dropped out instead. Started working as a welder to save up. Spent years breathing in fumes and burning his hands just so he could eventually pay for law school himself. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. "I thought maybe they'd changed. Maybe they'd learned. I kept hoping they weren't going to do it to you too." His voice was bitter. We sat in silence for a moment. I watched other students walking by with their backpacks and coffee cups, living normal college lives, not being told to sell themselves to the highest bidder by their own parents. "There's something else you need to know," Jerry said finally. "Our parents have ties with the mafia." The mafia? Like the actual mafia? This was insane. Dad's gambling wasn't at casinos. He owes money to some very dangerous people. That's why they need your college fund. That's why they're desperate enough to suggest this husband thing. My brain couldn't process this information. My parents, who drove a minivan and went to church on Sundays, were mixed up with organized crime. My dad, who wore polo shirts and told bad jokes, owed money to actual criminals. "So what do we do?" I asked. Jerry's voice got quiet like he was making sure no one could overhear. "I have a plan to get your money back. But it's going to take both of us and you have to trust me completely." "What kind of plan?" I needed details. "Not over the phone. Can you drive home this weekend? We'll meet at my apartment and I'll explain everything. Just whatever you do, don't let Mom and Dad know we talked. Act like you're considering their marriage plan." "Jerry, you're scaring me." "Good. You should be scared. These people don't mess around. But I'm not letting them steal your future like they stole mine. We're going to fix this." I ended the call and sat there on the bench for another minute, my whole body shaking. Students kept walking past me like nothing had changed, but everything was different now. My legs felt weak when I finally stood up and walked back to my dorm. The building felt too bright and too loud with everyone getting ready for Friday night parties. I made it to my room and closed the door behind me, then sat at my desk and opened my laptop. My class schedule stared back at me from the screen. Introduction to Psychology on Mondays and Wednesdays. Creative Writing on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Statistics 3 times a week. Classes I might not get to finish because my parents owed money to actual criminals. My hands were still shaking as I grabbed my phone and started deleting everything. Call history with Mom and Dad gone. Text messages gone. I changed all my passwords one by one, making them longer and more random. My email password, my banking password, everything. Setting up a new email account took forever because I kept hitting the wrong keys. My fingers wouldn't work right. Jerry had told me to download Signal for messaging, so I found it in the App Store and set it up with a username instead of my phone number. I sent him a message saying I'd drive to see him tomorrow, and he sent back a thumbs up. Then my regular email pinged with a new message. The bursar's office reminding me that tuition was due in 3 weeks. $28,000 for the semester. Money my parents had saved for 18 years and then stolen to pay criminals. I stared at the number and felt sick. I forwarded it to my new secure email and deleted it from my regular inbox. My roommate came in around midnight, drunk and giggling about some party. She passed out in her bed while I lay there staring at the ceiling. Down the hall, I could hear people laughing and talking about normal stuff. Someone was complaining about a chemistry test. Someone else was talking about asking a girl out. They were worried about regular college problems while I was planning to secretly record my own parents. I felt completely alone, even though there were hundreds of people in this building. I must have dozed off at some point because my alarm went off at 7. My roommate was still passed out, so I moved quietly, pulling out the small suitcase from under my bed. I packed the folder I'd been keeping since high school with all my college savings documents. Every birthday, they'd shown me the statements, and I'd kept copies. Screenshots of their texts promising the money was mine. Photos of them at my high school graduation saying how proud they were that I'd earned a full ride to my safety school. But they wanted me to go to my dream school instead. Everything that proved that money existed and was meant for me. I texted Jerry on Signal that I was leaving at noon like we planned. My roommate stirred and asked where I was going. I told her I was visiting family for the weekend, and she mumbled something about having fun before falling back asleep. I threw some clothes in the bag too and headed out to my car. The drive to Jerry's apartment usually took 2 hours, but I kept checking my mirrors. About 30 minutes in, I noticed a dark sedan that had been behind me since I left campus. Not right behind me, but staying steady 3 or 4 cars back. When I changed lanes, it changed lanes. When I took the exit for Route 95, it took the same exit. My heart started pounding. I memorized the license plate and took an unexpected exit for a rest stop. The sedan followed. I pulled into the rest stop and parked near the building, watching as the sedan parked a few rows away. Nobody got out. I called Jerry, trying to keep my voice steady. He told me to get back on the highway and keep driving to his place like everything was normal. He said not to try to lose them because that would let them know I'd noticed. So I got back in my car and drove the rest of the way with that sedan always 3 cars behind me. When I finally pulled up to Jerry's apartment building, the sedan drove past and turned at the next corner. I grabbed my bag and practically ran inside. Jerry was waiting at his door and pulled me into a hug the second he saw me. I hadn't cried yet, but suddenly I couldn't stop. He held me while I sobbed into his shirt, everything from the last day hitting me at once. When I finally calmed down, he led me to his kitchen where he'd covered the whole table with papers. Bank statements, printed emails, photos of documents. He'd been collecting evidence about our parents for months, maybe years. We spread everything out and started organizing it by date. Jerry showed me his laptop where he'd made a spreadsheet tracking every deposit and withdrawal from my college account. The withdrawals matched up with dates he'd marked in red on a calendar. He explained his plan while we sorted papers. Document everything, record conversations, build a legal case. He pulled out a recording app on his phone and showed me how to use it. Then he gave me a tiny microphone that clipped inside my jacket collar, barely visible. We practiced turning it on and off until I could do it without looking. He'd written down contact information for 2 people who could help us. Margot Goodwin worked in financial aid at my school and had experience with emergency situations. Hayden Barlow was a detective who specialized in organized crime cases, and Jerry knew him from when he'd done some legal work for the police department. Having actual names of people who could help made everything feel less impossible. That evening, after we'd organized everything and made copies, Jerry had me sit across from him at the table. He pretended to be our parents while I practiced staying calm and asking the right questions. We went through it over and over, him teaching me what words to use to get legally useful answers. Sunday morning, I woke up on Jerry's couch with my neck stiff from the weird angle and pulled out my phone to search for the financial aid office number at the school. The website said they opened at 8 on Monday, but I found an email for someone named Margot Goodwin who handled emergency cases, so I typed out a message explaining I had a family financial crisis and needed help right away. My hands shook as I typed because putting it in writing made everything more real, and I had to delete and rewrite the email 3 times before it sounded normal enough. Jerry came out of his bedroom with coffee and sat next to me while I attached copies of all the bank statements we'd organized, showing the college fund existed and was meant for me. He helped me write a short summary that explained my parents took the money without mentioning anything about the mafia or gambling debts, since that would sound too crazy for a first email. Within an hour, Margot wrote back saying she could meet me Monday at 7:30 before regular office hours, which meant I'd have to leave campus super early, but at least I'd get help. I packed up all the documents in a folder and drove back to campus that afternoon with Jerry following me for the first 30 minutes to make sure nobody was tailing me this time. Back in my dorm room Sunday night, I sat on my bed staring at my phone for 10 minutes before finally texting Mom that I'd been thinking about what she said and wanted to understand more about finding a boyfriend. She called immediately, and her voice got all excited like I'd just told her I won the lottery or something, while she started listing all these instructions about which dining halls the business school guys ate at and what times they went to the gym. I turned on the recording app Jerry showed me and held the phone slightly away from my ear, so the microphone would pick up everything while she explained I should wear tighter clothes and laugh more even if nothing was funny.